These players are basically free in Dynasty leagues, but they shouldn't be. Here's why you should go get them while you can. If you're watching a Dynasty fantasy football video on YouTube, I can only assume that you are serious about your Dynasty leagues and or you love winning as many Dynasty championships as you can. That's why you need to go to flockfantasy.com/endgame right now. You're going to get direct access to myself and Pierre to ask questions about your startup drafts, your rookie drafts, any trades you might be thinking of making or that you've gotten. Plus, you can show us your roster. We'll give you feedback on how to improve. Plus, not only do you get direct access to us, you get access to the guys from Fantasy Stock Exchange, the guys from Dynasty Land Football, and Mason from Flock. If you play Dynasty Football, you need to join today. All right, let's start with a second-year running back who was drafted in the 5th round last year by the Cleveland Browns, and that is Jerome Ford. He ran a 4.46 40 at 210 pounds, so he's got the juice. And even though he wasn't a prolific pass catcher in college, he has decent enough hands. And we're looking at a Browns running back room where Dearness Johnson has just gone on to sign with the Jaguars, and Kareem Hunt hasn't signed anywhere. And reports out of Cleveland say they feel confident enough in Jerome Ford to play that Kareem Hunt role should Kareem Hunt not return this offseason. And let's be honest, I like Kareem Hunt, but he was really bad last year. So even if he does return, there's a chance Jerome Ford just gets that role anyways. And if Chubb should go down, and he has missed time over his career, he's going to be 28 years old in December. He's over 1,300 career touches. There's certainly a chance of injury here for Nick Chubb. Jerome Ford would slot in as the starting running back. And as we've seen in the past, almost any running back who becomes a starting running back behind this offensive line will do very well. So Jerome Ford has a path to at least be in that Kareem Hunt role this year, if not the lead back role this year, should Nick Chubb go down. And projecting forward, there were rumors that maybe the Browns would try to trade Nick Chubb this year and get out from under that contract. Even if that doesn't happen, next year it becomes even more likely that they try to move on from Nick Chubb. So there are certainly paths here for Jerome Ford to become the lead guy, or at least the Kareem Hunt type guy in one of the best running games in the entire NFL. And he's currently ranked outside the top 60 running backs on almost any site I've looked at, which means he's pretty much free. So go out there, throw out an extreme low offer for him, get him on your team, see what happens. Now let's talk about a tight end who took a big hit when the Giants went out and traded for 31-year-old Darren Waller this year, and that is Daniel Bellinger. I gotta be honest, I didn't see this Darren Waller trade coming because I was impressed by Bellinger last year. I thought he played pretty well. And when you look from weeks 13 to 17 last season, he ran a route on over 80% of his snaps in all but one game. And that's what you love to see, because that means he's not out there blocking, he's catching passes. That means he's going to score fantasy points. And even though right now he's stuck behind Waller, he's still only 22 years old. So worst case scenario, he sits on your bench this year. But there are paths to him being relevant this year and definitely next year. Number one, Darren Waller is 31 years old. He's missed 14 games over the last 2 years. It's asking a lot to expect 31-year-old Darren Waller, who's missed 14 games over the last 2 years, to play all 17 games this year. Any game that Darren Waller misses, Daniel Bellinger slots in as the number one pass-catching tight end. But also, going into next year, there is an out in Darren Waller's contract. If the Giants decide to cut him, they will save $6 million in cap space. So if Darren Waller doesn't live up to expectations this year and they decide to move on from him next year, they can easily do that. And now a 23-year-old Daniel Bellinger becomes a starting tight end once again. So you're getting an extremely young tight end who looked very good in spurts last year and looked like a guy who could potentially become an every week tight end. And remember, tight ends take time to develop. So even if he doesn't get a full year as a starter this year, it's okay. He's still very young. And everywhere I looked, he's just about tight end 24 or outside the top 24 tight ends in Dynasty, which is crazy to me. Go out, get Daniel Bellinger, put him on your bench if you need to. He'll eventually pay off. And then one of my favorite free Dynasty players is Khalil Shakir right now. He has a clear path to the slot role in this Bills offense after Isaiah McKenzie left in free agency. And when you look last year, he already ran almost half of his routes from the slot, and that was with McKenzie on the field. Now that McKenzie is gone, you got to think that number is going to go way up. This is a team, we've seen Cole Beasley in the past. We saw Isaiah McKenzie last year. This is a team where you want a piece of that slot receiver because they have weekly upside, and they are involved in this passing attack. And Shakir also saw a target on 18.2% of his routes last year, which was exactly tied with Gabriel Davis, who is considered the team's wide receiver too. And even if the Bills go out and try to improve this wide receiver room, which they really can't do in free agency anymore, so it'd probably have to be in the draft, you got to think they're going to draft a receiver to replace Gabriel Davis, not a slot receiver, because Gabriel Davis was very bad last year, and he's really been very bad his whole career. And Shakir is a guy who had a 95th percentile college target share, which is elite, and on Player Profiler, his comparable player is Golden Tate. And if you're old enough to remember Golden Tate, one of the best slot receivers of the last 15 to 20 years. If that is Shakir's ceiling tied to Josh Allen in a Buffalo offense, there's no reason he should be in free in dynasty leagues, yet he's ranked outside the top 70 wide receivers on almost every single site I checked. For some reason, people haven't realized that he's a slot guy in this offense, and he really doesn't have any competition for that role. But you do now, so no excuse. Go get Shakir. All right, now you know 3 free players that you should be targeting right now. What about our top 12 players at each position? Check out our top 12 running back dynasty rankings right here.